Hey, it's Marthea Pitts, the MSW coach, and I am back for another episode slash video of my podcast. And if you are new here, welcome to my part of the internet. My name is Marthea Pitts. I am a three-time award-winning workforce development career counselor and macro social worker. And I help people get good quality, good paying jobs, specifically social workers and change makers who are ready to scale their impact and salaries by landing large scale macro social work jobs, change making roles outside of the traditional places where social workers typically work. That can be nationally, internationally, state level, meso level, all of the things in between. I work with change makers. And so as of today, I've helped well over 130 social workers make the pivot to macro social work, where they are now working in roles where they are moving the needle closer to progress for the populations and issues that they are most passionate about, while also 2 to 3 times or more their salaries. And so they are no longer overwhelmed, burnt out, undervalued. They have more autonomy in their work and they enjoy it. I don't ever hear a bad thing back about the thing. Of course, no job is perfect. So it's usually maybe just a situation here or there, but with some good coaching from me, professional development coaching, they usually are able to navigate the situation. So if you are interested in learning more about how I work with change makers and macro social workers, you can be a current macro social worker who wants another macro job or wants to advance further in your career. I work with everyone who wants to do large scale change making work. If you are okay with working in the places where social workers typically work, I am not your person. Don't click the link. I always say that, but I think it's time for me to revisit that. If you are looking for the status quo job where you are just maintaining the status quo and putting the band-aid on the problem of the people that you serve every day, I am not your person. Don't click on my link, click off of this video. But if you are a change maker who really is interested in doing work to address the issues that you see every day with the populations that you serve, in a way to meet their real needs, I am your person. You are in the right place. Click the link down in the episode show notes. Visit my website, macroandpaid.com, and grab my free e-course. In the e-course, I break down everything there is for you to know about what macro work is, what it looks like in today's job markets, right? Because many social workers, one, don't know what macro social work is. And if they do, they have a very academic version or idea about what it is, and that's why it's so hard for you all to find the jobs. So I break down in the e-course what those roles look like in the job market using my over 10 plus years of workforce development experience, where I have studied the job market in great depth. Right. That includes labor market data, all of the things. So grab the link. I break down salaries, job titles, organization types, how you can blend the things that you're interested in outside of your professional life into your career to increase your job satisfaction. So grab the free e-course, tell a friend to grab the free e-course. It's super popular. So let's get into this. I have my notes and I don't have a full like breakdown of the notes, but I have the topic that I want to talk about. So I'm thinking of, do I want to pose this as a question? It's more of a statement, right? So just because you have learned to live with a little doesn't mean you can't want more or that you have to get used to always having a little, right? So when I use the term a little, little can be little satisfaction in your job. Oh, I just worked the job to pay the bills. Little could be monthly income. Little could be yearly income. Little could be things in your personal life, right? Little, right? Just because you have gotten used to like living off of little doesn't mean you have to get used to that. And so what I mean by that is over the weekend, I had several different conversations with my different coaching groups around like what would it really take for them to earn monthly in their jobs to live the life that they want to, right? And so this stemmed from a much larger conversation that I had with some other people a few weeks ago around the fact that the person that said to me, I said, why do you only target jobs in this certain dot range, right? The salary range. And it was like $60,000. Even though you coming through the career accelerator, you have learned, we've seen it with our own eyes, the factual information where you meet the qualifications to easily get a job above six figures, right? I won't give the full amount that I told them, but well over six figures, right? And the person said to me, well, it's because I know how to make do with $60,000 a year. Like I've done it before. I know what my monthly expenses should be. I know that I could live within those means and be okay. Right. And so my response back to that is what is going on that's way deeper than this, right? Because to say that you are okay living off of $60,000 a year, I think I said month, but $60,000 a year because you've done it before, that's rooted in like scarcity mindset, right? And so I know people use that term a lot. I'm still learning a lot about it because I'm learning a lot about how it shows up in my life. But one of the ways that I can easily identify it in the my career coaching clients is like when we talk about salaries, or when I notice that they have a tendency to only apply for jobs in this range, right? And so when that person was honest enough to say like, and it's also connected to a much deeper reason. I'm not gonna get into that reason. We're just gonna focus on the money, which is all connected to much deeper reasons. Right. That's why I always come on here and say you all have to do your work. You have to do your work, right? And so when she told me that, my immediate response was like, just because you can do it doesn't mean you should. And I want you to start hitting apply on some scary jobs, right? And so I wanted to bring this conversation forward to you because you may be going through the same thing where you have gotten so accustomed to having little to nothing that you've made it your like thing. And only is and not only example, because you all know I'm not clinical, so I'm explaining this in real world terms. This is a real world conversation. So the example that I wanted to break down today is like how moving that way shows up in other areas of your life, right? And so I was reminded earlier of when I first started dating as a young adult, and I've only ever been in very, very long term relationships. Like I don't do nothing little, nothing little, right? Long term, more than five, but 8, 11 years, right? And so my very first relationship as a young adult, I was with the person for 8 years or so like that. And so this is a time where we were both very young, fresh out of high school, and we were living together and we were, being adults, paying rent, paying bills, paying car note. We had a brand new car, all of the things, right? And so with that, even before that, like my partner, we had little money because we are young adults, right? So he at the time he was working at that fast food restaurant he had worked at all through high school, because literally this is months after graduating high school. And he was working there. I wasn't working. I got a job sort of after that, like years after that, doing reception work. But fast forward, so years into the thing, we had come up with this thing as a couple where we would tell each other, or we had agreed upon the fact that we don't celebrate holidays, right? So what that looks like was, and you could feel however you want to feel about man-made holidays, but I'm gonna get into the thing, right? So buckle in and listen to the story. So we had come to this agreement that we did not celebrate holidays. So what that looks like, and And again, in all fairness, this became once we like really got in the thick of being grown people and the bills rolling in, we no longer living with our parents. Back then we could buy gifts. But once we started living together and we paying bills and they coming around, it seemed like every 15 days, but it's really every 30 days, life started getting real. So over time, we adopted this thing where we said, like, we don't celebrate holidays. So what that looked like was Valentine's Day would come, I wouldn't get a gift. I wouldn't get him a gift. What that looked like, Christmas time would come. I wouldn't get a gift. He wouldn't get a gift. Um, it would even because he was raised in a family where they did buy gifts for each other as adults. He would buy gifts for his family members, but I wouldn't get gifts, and I wouldn't get him a gift. And again, to be clear, this was in the thick of when money was slim to none. Now, there was a time where money was good and we were buying gifts, but we kind of held on to that agreement that we don't buy gifts for each other, right? So I went through that whole relationship, 8 years. Um, Years later, my next relationship, like years later, my next relationship, that relationship lasted for 11 years. And in that relationship, it was the beginning of a completely different experience, right? So this person would literally take me on trips every weekend. This person would buy me gifts all the time just because. Like I have my little sprints and sprees where I'm really into a thing. Like I remember one time I was into the gummy peach ring. So he would buy me peach rings just because multiple bags every day, right? You know, when you're in love, you eat all the time. And he loved to cook. That's a whole nother story. But so he would buy me excessive amounts of the things that I liked. Another thing that, and again, this was years ago. So what, 15 years ago, 18 years ago, when cell phones weren't widespread as they are now, right? They were becoming more common. And I may be off in the years, but every Christmas he would buy me a new cell phone. He would upgrade my cell phone every Christmas, like clockwork. If I knew I was getting nothing else, I was getting a new cell phone. And like I said, he would take me on a trip every weekend. And so he even gave me a surprise. I just remember he even gave me a surprise birthday party one year. No one has ever done that. I grew up. My mother gave us birthday parties every year until we were older. But as an adult, no one that I've ever been in a relationship with ever gave me a surprise birthday, like a full blown surprise birthday. I came home. He had cleaned the apartment top to bottom. He had invited all of my family and friends over. He had cooked the food. He had bought the gifts. Like to that honestly was the first time where I ever felt as an adult like, ah, like the people you are with are supposed to think about you on a deeper level, right? And so I want to go back to the first relationship. Even though we had the thing where we didn't buy gifts, when I would have large sums of money, like if I was going to school and got financial aid return, I would buy him gifts. I even paid like tuition for him one time to go to truck driving school because I've always been about people having a career. Even before I had even before I was in this field of work, I've always been about you need a career, you need something you can fall back on, a trade or something, a skill or something, right? We can't be in places that don't have a long-term career pathway where you can advance. So I even paid one time, I took like a lump sum of money that I had and paid for the thing. I say that to say this, right? So in my second relationship, where gifts were in abundance, um, our holidays, we celebrated every holiday. Valentine's Day came, big bears, flower arrangements, balloon arrangements, money, cards with things written in them, right? I realized that I, even though I was okay with my other partner and I agreeing not to exchange gifts, that's not really what I wanted, right? It's not really what I wanted. I wanted to be, like appreciated in that way, right? Because you just want to be. You just want to be. So I say all that to say that very early on when all of that was taking place, and it wasn't until after I got out of that second relationship did I realize like just because you can make do or get by without having a little doesn't mean you have to always stay that way, right? And it doesn't mean that you have to kill the desire to want more. And so that's the same thing when it comes to your job, right? Many of you are like, I can make do with a $40,000 job. I like what I do. I'm moving the needle closer to progress for the people. If I just keep my second part-time job or my hustle on the side, I'm good. But the thing that I wanted to just come in and be the friendly reminder that you don't have to get used to it being that way, right? You could have more. You could have one job that pays you more than both of those two jobs put together, right? So if you're making around 50,000 with your one job and your side hustle put together, you could have a job before the end of the year out that pays you 90,000. And I really wanted to encourage you all to dream just a little bit about what your life could be like if you had more, right? And when you dream about having more, it's not, it doesn't have to be a place where, coming from a place where you are ungrateful. I was ungrateful. I wasn't ungrateful for the first person I was in a relationship with. We were in love. I loved him. We was good. We got a house. We got a brand new car. We doing good, right? But looking back at it, I would have appreciated a Christmas gift, just like the family members got, right? I would have appreciated the gifts being reciprocated. Like if I'm spending large amounts of money doing the thing, yes, he was paying the monthly bills. Let me be clear. But also at the same time, like it's okay. And you don't have to have guilt associated with that. You don't have to have guilt associated with like, I like my job, but I really want a little more, right? And it doesn't have to be salary. It could be you want a little more responsibility, or you really want a little more meaning behind your work. You want to be in a space where the people are really helping the people, right? And because sometimes the narrative is about jobs that you just need to be thankful that you got a job. And it's just like, no, you should be thankful, but at the same time, you don't have to kill the desire or the wish or the dream to have more, right? And so I really wanted to come on and give a reminder to you all, or not a reminder, to be a loud voice in the room to say, like, even though you can make do with what you have, do you really want to? Do you really want to? Or have you sold yourself a lie over the years to like make it seem okay, to numb the desire, to kill the desire, right? And I dare you to dream just a little bit more. Like if you are one of those people right now in a relationship where you and your partner have agreed to the thing of we're not going to exchange gifts, right? And ultimately the underlying reason is because maybe the money is not there. Do you really want a gift? Like, do you really want a gift? And if you do, it's okay. And it's okay to voice that out loud, right? Because a gift doesn't have to be tangible money, right? It can be a card. You notice I said a card that had writing in it, poems in it, nonstop, right? The fact that he sat down and wrote about me and how he felt about me in a card. That felt good, right? And so it doesn't have to be attached to a monetary reason. It's usually just about like the thought, the comfort, the ease of having. Just because you're used to carrying it around on your shoulders, don't mean you always have to do that. And could you dream just a little bit about what would it feel like to not have those burdens? And let's talk about little money. What would it feel like to put all of your monthly bills on auto draft and not worry about a thing bouncing, coming back, returning, none of the in between, right? What would that feel like? What would it feel like to be at work and get a balloon and like a bouquet of flowers? What would that feel like? Right? Some of us grew up, or maybe it happened as an adult. You grew up in lack and you've become accustomed to it. And so ultimately what you're putting out into the world is that that's all that you are worthy of. So you stay in spaces where you only get a little, or you only get enough, just enough, just enough to keep you alive, right? But it ain't enough for you to thrive. It's not enough for you to bloom. It's not enough for you to go after the things that you really want to go after. Could you imagine if you're making $50,000 between your 2, 3, 4, 5 jobs? How much more you could do in your life if you were making 90,000? What would that look like? I told one of my coaching clients this weekend, she was like, her dream would be, as far as a bigger monthly income, would be to travel to see her parents more on the West Coast. And I was like, I love that. She was like, I would love to go see them 4 times a year rather than one. I said, even more than that, what would it feel like for you to fly first class to go see them all 4 times of the year rather than being in the back of the plane, right? But in order to get there, you first have to tell yourself that you are worthy to have more. Yes, you can make do with a little, but why? Why? Right? Abundance is your birthright. And if you don't sit in a place where you are like, I am worthy of the thing, even though I know how to manage it, it won't come to you. You will be closed off to conversations about abundance, to conversations about having more, being bigger, showing up, having a bigger save, whatever your thing is when we talk about little and being okay with it. So I really encourage you today to think about, where in your life have you gotten okay with just a little? And I want you to examine the origin of you becoming okay with a little, right? Because it stems from something. It stems from something much deeper than not being able to find a good job. Much as y'all want to say that, that's that scarcity mindset that says it's the job market. No, it's something much deeper that won't even let you hit apply on a job that's over $60,000. It's something much deeper that won't allow you to sign up for my program. It's something much deeper, and you need to address it, right? Because it is killing the potential for what your life could be, where your life could be big, full of ease, full of grandness, full of happiness. You deserve that. You can still serve the people and have a big life. You can, just because you're serving people who have a need doesn't mean you have to be in need. What I always say is, actually, you serve people more better when you come from a place of fullness, where you have so much overflow that you can just give it away and it comes back to you. But when you are coming from a place of lack, it makes you have scarcity about everything, right? Because many of you have been listening to these podcasts well before December, but I know you've been listening at least since December. I was gonna give an example, but I ain't gonna go on a rant because I feel like I gave y'all a lot right here. But just because you've gotten used to a little, or just because you've only ever had a little, doesn't mean you have to always be that way. And it's okay to want more, but you have to allow yourself to dream of more. And again, if you are burnout won't allow you to dream. So that's where you have to do your work, your deeper internal work, to figure out the origins while also addressing the burnout. But I want to leave that here. Again, grab the e-course. It's in the bio, Macro and Paid. Get the e-course. Let's start there. That's how you can start dreaming bigger, right? That's how you can start dreaming bigger and getting used to bigger things. Your career doesn't have to feel hard. You don't have to be in front facing roles where you're cooking the turkeys and moving the sofas and folding the clothes and driving the kids, and you're on call 24/7 in the hurricanes and the snowstorms. You're not out in the middle of the night at 3 a.m. when your family is home sleeping. You don't have to, it doesn't have to be that way. Just because your life was that way as a child, or just because your family's life is that way, doesn't mean your life has to be that way. So start with the e-course, and I'll talk to y'all next time. Happy macro career planning. Oh, and you deserve more. Happy macro career planning. Bye.